Hands none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. Whether in regard to the Prime Minister's Office and the Ministry of Finance, respectively, he will state A, the names, position, qualifications, and salaries of the senior advisors and advisors appointed thereat since December 2024 to date, indicating the board of any parastatal body or government-owned company on which they are members and the allowances drawn. And B, whether there are other nominees attached to the said office.
Yes, Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker. In regard to party of the question, I was just looking through the list. Perhaps it might be better if I table the information requested by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, unless you want me to read it. It's a long list. Not so many people, but the qualifications and all this. So I'll wait to the House of the Assembly. In relation to membership of boards of parastatal bodies or government-owned companies, there are currently only 2 advisors who are appointed in that capacity. One is Mr. Rakesh Bakuri, Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor. He's also serving as Director of the Economic Development Board, drawing a monthly board fee of 40,000 rupees since the 31st of March 2025, and also Dr. Takesh Laku as Chairperson of the State Trading Corporation, drawing an all-inclusive monthly allowance of 44,250 rupees since the 3rd of February 2025. Madam Speaker, I wish to refer the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to the statement I made to the House as I was sitting on the 25th of June 2025, wherein I pointed out that except in a couple of cases where advisors are serving on boards and committees, I have given strict instructions not to have any other advisor to serve on boards and committees. That is from the 25th of June 2025. These 2 advisors were appointed before that date. Madam Speaker, it would be apposite for me to explain the rationale of this decision. The House will recall that under the former government, advisors were allowed to serve on numerous boards where they were earning revenues which were very often much higher than their salaries. Let me give you a few examples where advisors were authorized to make such a gross abuse of their membership on boards and committees. One, Mr. Bala, who was drawing a salary of 163,000 rupees, 163,250 rupees as special advisor, who was also appointed as chairperson or director of the Mauritius Revenue Authority, of the SBM Bank Holdings Limited, of Mauritius Telecom, of Multi-Carrier Mauritius Limited, of Metro Express Limited, of SBM Africa Holdings Limited, SBM Bank Kenya Limited, paid in US dollars, not rupees. Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited and Rodrigues Duty Free Paradise Company Limited. I can give you many other examples, Madam Speaker. Mr. Prakash Mantua, Special Advisor, was drawing 132,000 rupees per month and 20,000 rupees as extra duty allowance, as was also chairperson of Airports of Mauritius Company Limited, Airport Terminal Corporations Limited, Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited. He was also a member of numerous boards and committees, including 9 committees of SBM Holdings Limited, State Insurance Company of Mauritius Limited, SICOM, and 2 of its subcommittees, Air Mauritius Limited, Air Mauritius Holdings Limited, Air May Limited, and Mauritius Helicopter Limited. There is Mr. Krideo Bikari, Special Advisor, was drawing a salary of 119,500 rupees. He was also appointed on the board of the following: Gambling Regulatory Authority, Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited, Rodrigues Duty Free Paradise Company Limited, Airport of Rodrigues Limited, Point Cano Resort Company Limited, Metro Express Limited. I could go on and on, Madam Speaker, and refer to many other such cases. I should also highlight that Mr. Prakash Mantua, Special Advisor, who sat on 14 boards and 7 committees, he drew between 15 million rupees between the period January 2015 to November 2024. 15 million. Mr. Nayan Kumar Bada, Special Advisor, sat on 9 boards and drew a total of 7.5 million rupees during period February 2023 to November 2024. Mr. Krideo Bikari, Senior Advisor, sat on 6 boards and 3 committees, and he drew a total of 16 million rupees from March 2015 to November 2025. Mr. Ken Oya, Senior Advisor, sat on 7 boards and committees, 4 committees, and he drew a total of 11.3 million rupees during the period February 2018 and September 2021. There are other names I could keep going on. May I also draw the attention of the House, under the former regime, there were 31 senior advisors or advisors attached to the Prime Minister's office. 31. And from 2015 to 2024, there were 14 attached to the Ministry of Finance. And Madam Speaker, in regard to Part B of the question, I wish to state that there are no other nominees attached to my office.
Yes, your first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam
Use the
Speaker,
mic,
the
use the
population
mic.
wants to know what is
Use the
happening
mic.
now at the Prime Minister. Not what happened before. Madam Speaker,
Let
the
him
Honourable Prime Minister mentioned his Chief of Staff. Can we be informed what are his duties, Madam Speaker?
Already, Madam Speaker. That is why Chief of Staff does. He looks at, I can give you the details if you want, but it will take time. His duties are, he has to provide clarification or insight into specific public projects. He's also involved in analytical, practical, and problem solving in nature. In other words, to help initiatives forwarded by the Ministry, by the Prime Minister's office, and also to address the needs and concerns of those affected. In other words, also people who come and see him for other things.
Yes, second.
Yes, Madam Speaker, recently the Chief of Staff expressed himself in the press. Can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm if he was the subject of severe criticisms from the former Deputy Prime Minister, and may we know what were the subject of those criticisms?
He was subject
Let the Prime
to
Minister reply,
criticism
please.
from the former Deputy Prime Minister. Yes, he was. The former Deputy Prime Minister thought that he was on the EDB board and that he was interfering in that board.
Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Prime Minister state if his Chief of Staff is in fact a member of the infamous Gang des Cinq as expressed by the former Deputy Prime Minister?
That, Madam Speaker, is a fiction of the imagination. There is no such gang. There are people whom I know who have come to see me in my office. It doesn't mean they're working for me. I meet many people, including people who have worked very closely to me for the 10 years, when people didn't want even to see me, were turning their backs. These people were there. So I'm not going to stop seeing them. But they're not a gang of 5, as you mentioned.
Prime Minister
Don't
mentioned
talk
that.
while sitting. Carry on. Fourth question.
Madam Speaker, can
Honourable
the Honourable
Chairman,
Prime Minister confirm whether one Mr. Kumar Kaulisa is attached to his office and what are his duties?
Yeah, he's a man who does a lot of work. He is very able to do a lot of things. But I do get difficulties with him, I must say. In fact, at one point, I did ask him to leave the office of PMO. And then many people from the party actually asked me to be a bit kinder. There was no need to ask him to leave. So I asked him to come back in a different position. But again, he seems to be interfering in some things. And I've also asked him again, he must go somewhere else.
It's your
Fifth
decision,
question.
Honourable Prime Minister. Honourable Prime Minister, can you inform the House whether the former Deputy Prime Minister and a minister inform you about a case where allegations of corruption were made against that Mr. Casey?
I did ask the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned this to me. I did ask the Minister, and he completely denies it. He says it was misunderstood. There was not a case of corruption, but somebody came to see him to try to influence him on some board or whatever was going on. An inquiry on the government school. An inquiry is going on there.
The former Deputy Prime Minister stated
No,
that it was a case of corruption.
Question.
Now, can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm to the House whether the minister who went to complain to the former Deputy Prime Minister is his Minister for Education, Honourable Ganga Pasak?
Whether the minister complained to whom, I didn't hear
Yeah,
the
to
question.
the former Deputy Prime Minister. I don't know if you would know.
The minister tells me it was misunderstood. There was somebody who came to see him in his office to try to influence him on something going on in the education sector. He threw him out, and there's an inquiry going on this.
Okay, that was more or less the same question.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, has the Honourable Prime Minister found out from the Honourable Minister as to why he reported the case of alleged corruption to the former Deputy Prime Minister and not to you, Honourable Prime Minister?
That you have to ask him, but I can say that I did ask him. I did ask him.
Good question from a sitting
But
position.
it's the Deputy Prime Minister, it's the former Deputy Prime Minister who actually called him and wanted to know something, and he gave me the details about, what was it about?
About the education and one school.
About one school in the education sector, and this is why he gave the answer. But he didn't say he thinks it was misunderstood.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Yes,
Madam
next
Speaker,
question.
can we know, Madam Speaker, from the Honourable Prime Minister whether the Honourable Minister for Education made a statement to the Financial Crime Commission about this case?
As there was an inquiry, there's an inquiry going on already, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister said there is an ongoing inquiry by the Financial Crime Commission?
No, not by the by the police.
May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he has informed the Financial Crimes Commission of this case?
Why do I have to inform the FCC? A police inquiry is going on, not on the substance of what he's saying, but on something else, but concerning the same person.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I have given you a lot of leeway, but your supplementary must be related to your main question. Not quite. Try and be more plus pointu.
I am, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Minister for Social Security expressed very serious concerns with regard to corruption, stating that it is worse than what the former Deputy Prime Minister stated. Will the Honourable Prime Minister consider, since his office is concerned, reviewing all nominations made at the level of the PMO, since both, that is the former Deputy Prime Minister and the actual Minister for Social Security, targeted your office, Honourable Prime Minister?
I don't recall the Minister of Social Security targeting my office. We are being very stringent, Madam Speaker. We said there will be zero tolerance on corruption, even if it is nothing compared with what happened during the MSM regime. But still, we have to look and try to weed out those who are corrupt.
Yes, I think your sixth question, maybe.
I'll be completing, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Prime Minister has stated several times that our economy will be severely affected due to war and also to the 10 milliards de rupees. And during, Madam Speaker, my last two PNQs, he refused, when I put the question to him, to revert back to allocations that were being given to workers on this country. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether the salaries of advisors, senior advisors, and also maybe members of this House will be reduced due to the negative effects of the war on our economy, Madam Speaker?
Yes, Prime Minister.
I must tell the Honourable Leader of the Opposition that he mustn't be aware. We haven't increased the salary since quite a while. Not only that, we have given the PRB. There is now anomalies that are arising. Even with the members of Parliament, there are anomalies which I think should be corrected. But you must realize that the advisors are not getting anything. I just mentioned a few, like what they were getting before. They were getting fortunes, millions. It's not the case anymore.
The Honourable Prime Minister confirmed that some persons who are not advisors have regular access to his office. Can he? That's what he said. That's what he said.
But that is not related to...
No, my question, Madam Speaker, can he confirm whether these persons are allowed to give instructions to public offices?
I don't know who he's referring to, but I can tell
Prime
you.
Minister, he's referring to your answer earlier on, that people come and see you.
Yeah,
That's
people
all.
can come and see me as much as they want,
Yeah.
if I have time. If I have time. But let me reassure the Leader of the Party, maybe he doesn't know me very well. I take my own decisions.
Let me give an example, Madam Speaker. For example, there was one Mr. Casey, the same Mr. Casey, who had access to areas reserved for VVIPs. I'll give you an example. At the receptorium of the Sir Siu Sagar International Airport during the arrival ceremony of the President of Seychelles. Do you confirm that?
I'm trying to work out who's KC. I think I guess who it is. Yeah, but he works in my office. He's allowed to come there.
So he works in your office? Yeah. He's paid for that also, for working in your office?
Of course, he's one of the advisors in my office.
Good. You finished. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Honourable Fourth Member for Portwich North. Your question?
Yes.
He just arrived.
Yeah.
Don't tease him.
B149.
149. Yes.
Madam Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that on Sunday, the 25th of January 2026, at about 15:50 hours, an anonymous call was received at the Trudodus police station requesting police intervention at Palmar Public Beach, where loud music was being played from several vehicles parked thereat, thereby causing and a nuisance. A team from the Trou-de-Deuce police station proceeded to Palmar Public Beach at around 16:00 hours. Upon arrival, police officers noticed several vehicles parked at the site, including one white car with its boot open and playing very loud music. Whilst the police officers were making inquiries regarding the owner of the said vehicle, several persons who were nearby and consuming alcoholic beverages became hostile and attempted to obstruct the officers in the execution of their duties. At around 17:00 hours, the police officers accordingly sought reinforcement, and teams from the Emergency Response Service, the Police du Tourisme, and the Divisional Support Unit called to the location at around 18:15 hours to assist the officers. Regards to part A and B and C of the question, when police officers were attempting to establish contraventions to a crowd of around 250 persons gathered, and some uttered abusive words towards the police and threw empty beer bottles as well as sand towards them and the police vehicles. One police vehicle was slightly damaged. In these circumstances, the police officers adopted a measured approach with a view to avoiding direct confrontation with a hostile crowd, which was around 250, as I said. No arrest could be effected at that time. The police officer withdrew from the immediate vicinity while maintaining a police presence from a distance. The crowd actually dispersed at around 20:30 hours, following which the police officers also left the spot. Following subsequent inquiries conducted on the 26th and 27th of January 2026, 12 persons were arrested in connection with the incident. Out of these, 8 were provisionally charged for the offense of rebellion and 1 for rogue and vagabond, whilst 3 persons were released after inquiry. 4 persons were also contravened for playing loud music. I have requested the Commissioner of Police to complete the inquiry at the earliest. As regards part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that the police is now deploying a contingent of the Special Mobile Force, together with the Divisional Support Unit, Emergency Response Service, and Police du Tourisme, as well as Police de l'Environnement, every Sunday from 12:00 hours to 20:00 hours at the main public beaches. We also, Madam Speaker, as I mentioned last week, we are also looking at the possibility of increasing the fine. Even though it is rather high, we think we should be increased. And as I mentioned last week in my reply, I think BQB 78, we will not tolerate that police officers are sworn at and distracted while performing the police duties. People must respect the uniform of that police officer who is doing a public duty. The law will be strengthened and be made more severe.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes?
Yes, Madam Speaker. The first question, Madam Speaker, if you'll allow, is firstly, why was it deemed appropriate to allow those persons who, according to the Prime Minister himself, were consuming alcohol, were violent, had been rebelling against police officers, so much so that they were impuissants? The question being, why was it deemed appropriate to let these persons simply go on that night? And why was the SMF and the SSU not mobilized there and then, when it was obvious that they were, when the ratio of police officers to violent individuals was very much off?
As I explained, Madam Speaker, the police wanted to avoid a direct confrontation with about 250 persons. By the time the SMF would come in exactly, they decided on the spot that it's better not to have this confrontation now, but they will get these people through the various systems that they have, and they did.
So they're wise after the event, of course. Yes. No statements?
Yes. May I ask the Prime Minister, is he aware that apparently, and maybe he can confirm, there has been further incidents there at Palmar since this incident? Is he aware of same?
I'm not aware of any further incident, Madam Speaker.
The last question, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I've been repeating it time and time again.
Question.
For specialized units. I'm glad to hear that it will now be done. My plea, however, to the Prime Minister is that 8 o'clock is too early.
No, put a question.
Will the Prime Minister consider, therefore, extending the time that the SMF and other specialized units will be on duty at main public beaches to over 8 o'clock? In fact, I would ask him to at least 12 p.m.
12 p.m., okay. 12
I
p.m.
will pass on this suggestion to the Commissioner of Police.
Okay, next question. Mr. Third member for Granby-Boudredon.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La question B150, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to parliamentary question B150 and B160 together as they relate to the same subject matter. The Port Master Plan of 2024, which focused on development needs up to 2050, was approved by the Board of the Mauritius Ports Authority on the 18th of March 2025. Based on cargo forecasts and changes in the port environment, 7 infrastructural projects at the estimated cost of 56.3 billion rupees have been recommended for implementation with a view to increasing the container handling capacity, improving productivity, port efficiency and operation. Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Mauritius Ports Authority has already initiated action for the implementation of 3 projects, namely the expansion of the existing terminal to accommodate additional container stacking yard and introduction of a new gate system to increase operational efficiency and capacity of the terminal. The Mauritius Ports Authority is finalizing the bid documents for the procurement of the consultancy services. The request for proposals is expected to be floated in April of this year. Works of a duration of 18 months are expected to start by the end of 2027. B, the extension of the cruise jetty to accommodate larger cruise vessels. Again, an invitation for proposal for consultancy services through an open international bidding exercise was floated on the 2nd of October 2025. Evaluation of the offers is in progress. Construction works of a duration of 18 months are expected to start by October 2027. And C, pre-qualification document for the selection of contractors for the infrastructural development at Fort William of an extent of 55 hectares have been submitted to the Central Procurement Board on the 17th of March 2026 for their vetting prior to launching the pre-qualification of contractors exercise. Works of a duration of 15 months are expected to start by April 2027. In addition, the reconstruction of case B and C, presently occupied by the National Coast Guard, is being looked into. 2 jetty projects would be financed by private promoters who would be operating at Fort George and Fort William. The Mauritius Ports Authority has already earmarked land of a total extent of 3 hectares at Fort George for the development of petroleum storage facilities. Procedures for the allocation of land are ongoing, and as regards the proposed jetty at Fort William, same will be developed by the promoters of petroleum storage facilities. Madam Speaker, following my state visit to India in September of last year, both governments have agreed on a strategic partnership for the redevelopment and restructuring of the port in Mauritius. On the 19th of December 2025, government agreed to the setting up of an interministerial committee on the strategy for port development under the chair of the then Deputy Prime Minister. On the 6th of March 2026, government agreed in principle to the recommendations of the interministerial committee to inter alia, A, opening of the capital of the Cargo Handling Corporation to Mazak Limited and Mediterranean Shipping Company Limited, as minority shareholders of up to a threshold of 40%, subject to compliance with the Public Procurement Act and the Competition Act, and B, the implementation of the Island Container Terminal Project. Madam Speaker, the Island Container Terminal Project comprises the construction of a breakwater to create a rather tranquil basin, if I may put it that way, in front of the present Mauritius Container Terminal, a navigation channel dredged up to 18 meters deep, a new container terminal of an area of 50 hectares, and a quay of 1.2 kilometers in length. The cost of the project, as per the Port Master Plan, is estimated to be approximately 47.3 billion rupees, excluding VAT, and the construction period is projected to be between 6 to 8 years. In addition to standard container operations, the project is planned as a multifunctional and future-oriented port development.
Thank you, Mr. Tuaria. You're okay? Mr. Lubin? Yes?
Yes. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, how will the role of the MPA as a landlord and regulator be preserved in the event of increased private sector participation in the development of the port?
The private sector will be less than 50%.
Okay. One more?
Yes.
Yes?
And does the Port Master Plan incorporate Green Port Initiative as it is being done around the world? Because as at now, our port is very near to a bird sanctuary as well. So does this master plan will englobe this Green Port Initiative?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Bichuk, I think.
Oui, Madame la Présidente. B 151, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, again, I shall reply to Parliamentary questions B151 and 158 together as they relate to the same subject matter. In regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed that as of 27th of March 2026, 64,165 foreign workers are employed in Mauritius, of whom 50,234 are holders of work permits under the Non-Citizens Employment Registration Act, and 13,931 are holders of occupation permits under the Immigration Act. The main sectors in which they are employed include manufacturing, construction, agriculture, tourism, and SMEs. I'm also informed by the Passport and Immigration Office that as 27th of March 2026, 6,926 foreign workers are overstaying in Mauritius. The details are as follows. 2,819 have been reported as missing by the employers, and their work permits have been cancelled. 2,698 have expired work permits and are awaiting renewal thereof, and 1,409 have expired work permits and no applications for renewal were submitted. I'm tabling the nationalities of the overstaying foreign workers. Madam Speaker, as of 27th of March 2026, 6,656 foreign students hold valid residence permits. Foreign students are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week without the need of any work permit. The Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations is considering to review the existing policy to require concerned institutions to apply for work permits to allow foreign students to work for a maximum period of 20 hours. With regard to Part B of the question, the tracing and tracking team of the Passport and Immigration Office, in collaboration with other units and branches of the police force, do regular crackdown operations throughout the island. For the year 2025, 97 such operations were carried out, resulting in the arrest and repatriation of 944 foreigners. Since the beginning of this year, 24 crackdown operations were carried out and 151 foreigners were repatriated. Madam Speaker, to ensure compliance by employers with within the current legislations, I'm informed that the Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations is not issuing new work permits unless and until the concerned employers have taken the necessary measures to renew the expired work permits of foreign workers or to repatriate them. Madam Speaker, my government is very concerned about the problem of foreign workers overstaying in the country and is coming up with the following measures to address the matter. One, a combined work and residence permit with the inclusion of a QR code which would allow labour inspectors or the police to verify the real-time status of the work and residence permits during surprise visits. B, a rules-based work permit system which will be implemented, which would also include an accreditation framework for employers to make them more responsible and liable for foreign workers they recruit.
Yes, Mr. Bichuk, you're okay. Mr. Rukni first. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all right?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the Prime Minister please advise the House
what problems is the police or PIU having in policing these overstaying workers?
It's a good question. The problem is they seem to disappear in thin air. So the police are looking for them. I've asked the Commissioner of Police to, in fact, strengthen the crack team that is doing the work in cooperation, including the SMF if need be.
Yes, Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to confirm the following. In reply to a PQ, the Minister for Labour stated that some 3,000 cases of illegal employment have been regularized. Do we understand that we've made something illegal legal?
No. It's very often what happens is they have submitted their work, their application for a permit, if I'm not mistaken, and it's being gone through the system.
Okay, we finished with that issue, okay? Miss Honourable Third Member for Bobassa.
B152, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Gambling Regulatory Authority that as per Section 22.2 of the Rules of Racing of 2024, any jockey and apprentice jockey is mandatorily required to have an insurance cover. Although the rules do not specify the type of cover, insurance taken for jockeys and apprentice jockeys, both local and international, are usually of two types, namely personal accident and health catastrophe cover. With regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Gambling Regulatory Authority that it is the responsibility of the horse racing organizer, currently the MTC Jockey Club, to arrange the insurance cover, which is then billed to the jockey and the apprentice jockey. I'm informed that under the previous government, the People's Turf PLC did not provide for insurance cover for the jockeys and apprentice jockeys for both 2023 and 2024, the period during which it was, that is the PLC, was the horse racing organizer. And this was against the principles of the Gambling Revenue Authority, to which the latter, I must say, turned a completely blind eye. They didn't do anything about it. The annual premium for the personal accident cover is as follows: 172,500 for a local jockey and an apprentice jockey, and 87,500 for a foreign jockey. The annual premium for health insurance is 14,244 for both local jockey and the apprentice jockey. Concerning Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Gambling Regulatory Authority that as per Section 20 of the Rules of Racing 2024, a person can apply for an apprentice jockey license if that person is aged 16 years or more. This is, I believe, the international practice. Furthermore, this age limit is in line with Section 10 of the Workers' Rights Act, which provides that a person is considered to be of full age and capacity to enter into an employment contract only if the person is aged 16 years or more.
Madame la Présidente.
Yes.
Merci. Et l'honorable Premier ministre peut-il expliquer à la Chambre, sachant que les difficultés que rencontrent les jockeys et apprentis mauriciens pour gagner leur vie, pourquoi la prime d'assurance est beaucoup plus élevée que celle qui concerne les jockeys étrangers, pratiquement le double, si j'ai bien compris la réponse du Premier ministre.
This is precisely because it is felt that they already have an insurance from wherever they are coming. That is a foreign jockey. They already have an assurance for this, for this, which covers them. So this is why it is lower.
Okay.
Alors, le Premier ministre, trouve-t-il normal de demander aux jockeys et apprentis mauriciens de débourser en une seule tranche 172 000 roupies pour une prime d'assurance qui leur permet d'avoir leur licence, alors qu'on aurait pu leur faciliter la tâche en les faisant payer en mensualité, en plusieurs tranches. N'est-ce pas là enlever la chance aux Mauriciens de pouvoir exercer leur métier en toute quiétude? Le Premier ministre prendra-t-il toute cette question avec la GRA? Pourquoi ne pas demander à la GRA, par exemple, de subventionner cette prime d'assurance?
Not sure that the jury can subsidize them, but I could ask them whether it's possible to pay in tranche. That's what you're saying. I could ask them. I don't know whether it's feasible or not, because it's an insurance company at the end of the day who will decide. But
Okay, fair enough. Now we have first member for Sabah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B153.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that for the period 1st of January 2026 to 27th of March 2026, a total of 650 cases of driving under the influence of alcohol were detected by the police. Out of these 650 cases, I'm informed that 46 suspects are the second offense, 5 are the third offense, and 2 are the fourth offense. As regards the action being contemplated to prevent repeating such offences, I'm informed that the police are intensifying targeted enforcement operations, including alcohol tests, checks, vehicle checkpoints, and patrols at high-risk periods and locations, while also pursuing public awareness and sensitization campaigns to discourage drink driving and promote responsible behavior. Madam Speaker, over and above these measures, government has already announced that stringent actions are being taken and will continue to be taken against all forms of road traffic offences. In fact, the Road Traffic Act has recently been amended to reintroduce the penalty point system, which provides for stricter sanctions, including automatic disqualification upon accumulation of penalty points. These amendments also include longer periods of license suspension for repeated offenders and tougher fines and penalties for serious traffic offences. Additionally, the Ministry of Land Transport is currently working on a new piece of legislation whereby vehicles of persons booked for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs will be immediately impounded. The Commissioner of Police will be empowered to take ex parte application, to make ex parte application to a judge in chambers for the immediate suspension of driving licenses in such cases.
Yes. You're right? Yes? Okay, now I have the third member for Portrush North, Mr. Kazan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B154, please.
Madam Speaker, there are currently 14 vacant positions at the Registrar General's Department in different grades. These include 6 vacancies in the grade of registration and senior registration officer. And the post, Madam Speaker, was advertised by the Public Services Commission in October 2023. That is just prior to the election. 1 year prior to the election. Following a selection exercise by way of letter dated the 1st of October 2024, which was received by the Registrar General's Department on the 4th of October 2024, the PSC submitted the names of 8 candidates to be appointed. However, following the dissolution of the National Assembly on the 4th of October 2024, the department stayed action on this issue and the PSC re-advertised the post on the 30th of July 2025, and as at date, recruitment process is still underway at the level of the PSC. The remaining 8 vacancies are as follows: 1 Principal Financial Operations Officer, 1 Financial Operations Officer, Senior Financial Operations Officer, 3 Assistant Financial Operations Officer, 1 Assistant Procurement and Supply Officer, 1 Management Support Officer, and 1 Confidential Secretary. These grades fall under the aegis of the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reforms. Action has already been initiated for the filling of these vacancies. Madam Speaker, there is still a backlog at the level of the PSC, and this is why it is taking so much time to fill vacancies in general in the public service.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. Yes, Mr. Bijan, last question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. B155.
Madam Speaker, in June 2020, in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, the previous government agreed to implement, against others, a wage support loan scheme and for export-oriented goods enterprises to be administered through the Development Bank of Mauritius Limited. Out of a total of 8 billion rupees, which was made available by the Bank of Mauritius to the DPM, 5.9 billion have been utilized to service loan requests from its clients under the various COVID-19 schemes. With regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed that the Bank of Mauritius provided a special line of credit of 2 billion rupees to the Development Bank of Mauritius to facilitate the implementation of the scheme. This line of credit carried an interest rate of 1.3% per annum and was repayable over a period of 5 years, including a 6-month moratorium period. Of the 2 billion line of credit, 1.5 billion was subsequently on-lent to EUEs. In regard to Part B of the question, I'm informed by the DBM that the terms and conditions of the schemes were as follows. 1, the loan amount was determined based on the wage bill of the enterprise. 2, the interest rate of 2% per annum. 3, the repayment of up to 5 years, including a moratorium of 6 months on capital. With regard to Part B1 of the question on security requirements, I'm informed that the Development Bank of Mauritius that in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, and given that the enterprises were in distress, the board of the DBM approved the scheme whereby no collateral was requested as security from the beneficiaries of the loans, contrary to the usual credit policy guidelines of the Development Bank of Mauritius or of any other bank. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B2 of the question, an amount of 1.5 billion rupees was disbursed under the scheme to 43 enterprises. To date, 580 million have been repaid, comprising both capital and interest. Currently, 36 enterprises are in arrears for an amount of 335 million rupees, that is 299 million rupees in capital and 36 million rupees in interest. Madam Speaker, I'm further informed that the Development Bank of Mauritius has not written off any liabilities for beneficiaries under the scheme. However, as of the 30th of June 2025, some 400 million rupees of the total portfolio are classified as non-performing, of which 304 million relate to 5 companies that are either in liquidation or under receivership. The 5 companies are Star Knitwear Group Limited, Jockey International Limited, Beachwear Exports Company Limited, Les Ateliers Créatifs de l'Océan, and Riverwalk Investment Limited. As the House is aware, incidentally, Star Knitwear Group still owes the IMIC a sum of 425 million rupees. With regard to the impact on the DBM, such provisioning for non-performing loans have seriously affected the accounts of the Development Bank of Mauritius, which shows substantial loss of 388 million rupees for the financial year 2024-2025, compared to the positive performance recorded over the past 3 financial years. Furthermore, the non-payment of the dues by the beneficiaries of the scheme will further impact on the DBM's capacity to meet its repayment obligations to the Bank of Mauritius. Today, the Development Bank of Mauritius has been squeezed out of all essential funding, preventing it to deliver on its core mandate because cronies of the previous government have looted the bank. This is yet another case of broad daylight robbery of public funds under the previous government, which has now endangered the financial standing of the Development Bank of Mauritius. Madam Speaker, I've given instructions for an inquiry to be carried out on the whole matter to find out all those responsible for this big financial scandal. As regards Part C of the question, I wish to inform the House that in June 2020, the Minister of Finance issued a letter of comfort to the Bank of Mauritius to the effect that government will make its best endeavors to ensure that the DBM meets its obligations in respect to the line of credit. It also provides an underlying fiduciary guarantee that government will be liable for all liabilities in case of default.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In light of the alleged abuse of the scheme by the former government, will the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House whether any action will be taken to chase those companies which have taken millions of rupees from the DBM and have winded up after benefiting from the said scheme?
It is the intention of government to do exactly that. In fact, we know that, for example, one company has taken all this money and has relocated in South Africa. All this we are looking at.
Thank you. Time is up now. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, PQ, the table has been advised, honourable members, that PQ B175 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Local Government. PQ B176 will be replied by Honourable Minister of National Infrastructure. Now, we've also been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B161, 162, 172, 159, 170, 171, 165, 163, 166, 156, 167, 169, and 168. Thank you. Honourable Second Member for Gambé, again.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B173.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that lodging accommodation for migrant workers and other guest employees are governed by the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2005 and the Occupational Safety and Health Employees Lodging Accommodation Regulation of 2011. Regulation 6 of the regulation provides that no employer shall use a building as lodging accommodation unless he holds a lodging accommodation permit, LAP, in respect of that lodging accommodation. Enforcement of the regulation are ensured by the Employees Lodging Accommodation section of the National Occupation Safety and Health Department of my ministry. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I wish to inform the Honourable Member that as per advice tendered by the Attorney General's Office and in view of the provisions of the Data Protection Act, it would not be proper to circulate the names of the potential employers who applied for the LAP. Over the past 6 months, that is from October 2025 till March 2026, 318 applications were received at my ministry, in respect of which 220 permits has, as at date, been issued. In addition, 14 applications has been approved, but the application have not yet been effected. The applicant has not yet effected payment of the appropriate fees for the issue of the LAP. Pending cases are as follows. 18 applications, payment of permit fees has been effected and same are being processed for issue of permit. For 5 applications, letter of compliance are being awaited from the employers, and for 2 applications, amended clearances are being awaited from the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. As regards the remaining 59 applications, these will be determined at the meeting of the Lodging Accommodation Committee established under the regulations scheduled for today itself. Madam Speaker, the average time taken between submission of a LAP application and the conduct of the first inspection at my ministry is 21 days. Concerning Part B of the question, I'm informed that the ELA section of my ministry has conducted 413 inspections in respect of 318 applications submitted by potential employers over the past 6 months. Accordingly, I am tabling the number of potential employers who have submitted application for LAP over the past 6 months, together with the respective dates of the application, dates of visits carried out at for the various lodging accommodation.
Yes, Mr. Vijan.
Now, as regards, sorry.
You haven't finished.
Yes, I haven't finished yet. I'm just tabling this. Madam Speaker, I wish to highlight that as at date, out of 84 established posts in the NOSH department of my ministry, only 56 officers are physically in post. With regard to the section dealing with LAP application, out of 14 funded posts, there are 5 vacancies. That is 1/3. So we have a big staffing problem at the ministry. On average, my ministry received more than 50 new applications for LAP every month, and the number is increasing. Despite all efforts, it has not been possible to reduce the time taken to process LAP application in view of the increasing number of applications and the acute shortage of staff at the NOSH department. Madam Speaker, while there is an increase in the demand for migrant workers from employers, my ministry has also received several complaints from citizens regarding the operation of lodging accommodation in residential areas. With a view to reducing mushrooming of lodging accommodation throughout the island and mitigating these challenges, my ministry is coming up with a centralized lodging accommodation regulation, which will be promulgated shortly. It is at the level of the Attorney General's office. These regulations will allow several employers to house their workers in a centralized dormitory, of which the owner would be the license holder, and this is going to greatly reduce the application for LAP going forward. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bichan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given the financial strain on small businesses from waiting for an inspection of lodging accommodation or issue of work permit, will the Honourable Minister consider to recruit more officers and posting be done in those two specific departments in order to relieve SMEs or other businesses? Thank you.
I totally agree with the Honourable Member, and we are making the request, and I hope there will be a positive response from the Ministry of Finance in the coming budget.
Thank you. That's it. Yes, the Honourable Third Member for Beaubassin-Petite-Rivière.
B174, please.
Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I am informed by the Mauritius Society of Authors that it has been able to maintain its provisional membership with the International Confederation of Society of Authors and Composers, and it has already embarked on the implementation of a series of measures in line with the requirements of CISAC to strengthen its membership. I am also informed that at its General Assembly held on 28 May 2025, CISAC had approved the extension of MAZA's provisional membership for a further period of 2 years, subject to compliance with strict conditions, as CISAC had already informed that no further extension will be granted. Madam Speaker, it is important to underline that the situation we inherited was a matter of serious concern. For years, there had been clear warning signals regarding the governance, compliance, and overall functioning of MAZA. This prolonged inaction placed MAZA's international standing at risk and created uncertainty for Mauritian artists. Madam Speaker, faced with this situation, my ministry has acted promptly and responsibly. In this context, I am informed that the Regional Director for Africa of CISAC effected a mission to Mauritius from 23rd to 27 February 2026 to guide MAZA on the measures required to ensure compliance and safeguard membership. Madam Speaker, I am further informed that MAZA has already initiated concrete steps to meet CISAC requirements, including, first, uploading of the audited financial statement for years 2020-2021 and 2021-2022 on the CISAC's governance portal on 31st October 2025. Second, submitting the financial statements for the years 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 to the National Audit Office for auditing, with unaudited version already uploaded on the portal. Third, updating its repertoire on CISNEC on 2nd November 2025, with the next update scheduled for May 2026, and distributing approximately 18.7 million rupees to local copyright owners in December 2025, and 1.7 million rupees to foreign right owners in February 2026. These actions demonstrate that MAZA is actively aligned with international standards. Madam Speaker, as regards to Part B of the question, Government has provided for a sum of 4 million rupees over 2 years for the restructuring of MAZA to assist the society in fully meeting the international requirements necessary to preserve its membership with CISAC. However, given that MAZA currently holds approximately 95 million rupees in accumulated funds with insufficient clarity and on their collection and reasons for non-distribution over a prolonged period, the board of MAZA has approved that a comprehensive forensic audit be undertaken as priority. Madam Speaker, the terms of reference for this audit, which are being finalized by my ministry, will be launched shortly. This exercise is essential to restore confidence among artists and stakeholders to ensure that MAZA is placed on a sound footing prior to restructuring. Based on the findings of the forensic audit, my ministry will thereafter proceed with the consultancy services for a comprehensive restructuring plan. In parallel, my ministry is supporting MAZA in its modernization efforts, including the acquisition of a cloud system to match the requirements of WIPO Connect. This will enhance repertoire management, improve royalty tracking and distribution to artists. Madam Speaker, I therefore wish to reassure that my ministry remains fully committed to supporting MAZA in meeting all international requirements with a view to preserving and consolidating its membership with CISAC and ensuring that Mauritian authors and right holders receive the royalties to which they are entitled. Madam Speaker, our artists deserve nothing less, and as Minister of Arts and Culture, I will stand firmly by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Yes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le ministre peut-il préciser à la Chambre s'il y a un délai qui a été fixé par l'instance internationale pour la régularisation de la situation et s'il existe un risque de suspension ou de retrait de cette adhésion?
Je viens de préciser qu'on a déjà commencé le travail à la satisfaction de l'organisation.
Donc il n'y a pas de délai pour l'instant.
Donc, peut-on savoir si son ministère considère effectivement que ce membership, cette adhésion, constitue un pilier essentiel pour le développement du secteur créatif mauricien et ainsi améliorant les revenus des artistes?
Yes, of course we'll do it.
Très bien. Good. So now I finish with Mr. Kirin. Next page, sorry. So now we have Honorable Apollo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. 175.
This will be replied, yes.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to PQB 175. In response to the rising incidence of vector-borne diseases, including chikungunya, my ministry is actively participating in a coordinated and multi-sectoral strategy through an interministerial committee chaired by the Minister of Health and Wellness and comprising all local authorities, the Ministry of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy and Fisheries, and the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change. This collaborative platform ensures a unified and structured national response with all relevant stakeholders working in close coordination to implement preventive and corrective measures. Local authorities have intensified their operation to identify, clean, and maintain bare and neglected lands across the island. As of date, 1,220 plots of bare land have been cleaned, and the detailed list is being tabled. Madam Speaker, under Section 61 subsection 9 of the Local Government Act 2011, the local authorities are empowered to intervene directly where such land poses a threat to public health, particularly in cases of unknown ownership or non-compliance. This provision is being actively enforced. Local authorities have also served enforcement notices on owners of bare lands requiring immediate remedial actions, and as at date, 1,368 enforcement notices have been issued, out of which 790 have already been complied with. Appropriate action, including legal proceedings, are being initiated in cases of non-compliance. To further strengthen these measures, a meeting was held on 20 February, and a circular was also issued on 10th March 2026 to all local authorities to intensify enforcement against bare land and illegal dumping. In parallel, health inspectors have increased the frequency of inspections and enforcement actions within their respective jurisdiction to ensure close monitoring and timely intervention. Madam Speaker, the Mobile Facilities Management Company Limited and the Living Environment Unit of the Ministry of Environment have deployed dedicated teams to carry out targeted and large-scale cleaning operations in priority areas, including Canleview, Rochebrune, and other affected regions. Similar exercises are ongoing across municipal and district councils covering road reserve, green space, and other public areas. These interventions are being implemented within existing budgetary provision, including allocation under the Climate Sustainability Fund, whereby ensuring efficient and responsible use of public funds. Enforcement under the Environment Act 2024 is also being strictly applied. ISO abatement notice and fixed penalty notices are being issued by local authorities and Police de l'Environnement. From January 2025 to February 2026, 491 notices were issued by local authorities and 143 by the police, with fixed penalties imposed in cases of non-compliance. Public awareness campaigns are also being conducted to promote proper sanitation practices at both household and community levels. An amount of approximately 2.5 million rupees has been earmarked for this purpose. Madam Speaker, while significant progress has already been achieved, I wish to underline that there remains additional areas requiring interventions. In this regard, recruitment of additional personnel started last week and is currently ongoing. Upon completion, these additional resources will allow for the deployment of more dedicated teams to further strengthen the cleaning and maintenance of bare land and to enhance our national response in combating chikungunya and other vector-borne diseases. On Thursday next, that is on 2nd of April, we will have another interministerial committee which will be held at the office of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. With your permission, Madam Speaker, I am tabling a detailed information including the details, the extent of lands clean and enforcement action undertaken. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, very good. Now, B176 has been withdrawn. Table has been advised. While I'm at it, I'm also telling you about B203, B184, B213, and B218 that have been withdrawn. So, Ministers, please take note. Now, so we go with Mr. Levin then.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B177, please.
Madam Speaker, the Bail Act was amended in 2011 to provide in Section 8, subsection 4 thereof, for the imposition of electronic monitoring for a limited category of defendants or detainees to be released on bail, namely for those who are not ordinarily residents in Mauritius or for those who are residents but liable on conviction for the offence with which they have been charged to penal servitude or to imprisonment for a term exceeding 2 years, and who are also persons whom a police officer not below the rank of superintendent has reasonable grounds to believe are likely to leave Mauritius. Section 8.4 was not and has still not been proclaimed. My office has contacted the Office of the Commissioner of Police which is responsible for the implementation and operation of the proposed electronic monitoring of defendants and detainees, and the Commissioner of Police has informed my office that a technical committee was set up at the time under the chairmanship of the then Deputy Commissioner of Police Administration to examine the implementation and use of the electronic bracelets for persons to be released on bail. However, that committee decided that it would not be prudent to proceed with the project due to its high cost implications. The project was thus put on hold indefinitely. As at today, it is not possible to give a time frame for the implementation of the project, which, though commendable, is one which is very costly. We have to look at the priorities of the day, and at the moment it is not possible to give a precise timetable for its implementation. However, this issue will be looked into anew at the time we finalize the Police and Criminal Justice Bill later this year.
Okay, that's it. Good. Now we have Mr. Bijan again.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B178.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that raised tables or traffic calming measures installed on public roads and are placed at locations where a reduction in vehicle speeds is deemed necessary due to safety consideration. Such locations may include straight road alignments, residential zones, and areas with high pedestrian activity. I am informed by the TRMSU that over the last 2 years, the following traffic calming measures have been carried out in constituency number 6. Number 1, construction of a raised table along Saint-François Road at Petit Raffray. Number 2, implementation of a raised pedestrian crossing at Lux Hotel Grand B. Number 3, conversion of an existing at-grade pedestrian crossing into a raised pedestrian crossing at Vale Road at Upper Vale near the Mandir. Number 4, furthermore, the following road safety measures have been implemented. Installation of a fixed speed camera at Font-du-Sac along Plaine des Papayes Road, B11 in November 2024, and also implementation of speed zone of 40 kilometers along Grand Gob Road, Coastal Road at Rocheterre near Rocheterre Government School in July 2025. Madam Speaker, I am made to understand that the TRMSU is pursuing discussions with the District Council of Rivière-du-Rempart regarding the implementation of both single and double yellow line marking at some 10 locations identified in October 2025 to prevent on-street parking of vehicles and entrance road safety in the region. The Honourable Member will surely recall that we had effected a site visit together with his 2 colleagues chairs. I have to highlight, Madam Speaker, that several projects identified across the island, I go to the national level now, including constituency number 6, could not be implemented so far in view that the bidding exercise for the framework agreement by the Central Procurement Board took an excessively long time to materialize. I am informed that the bidding documents were finalized in May 2025 and bids were floated on the 3rd of June 2025 by the CPB. The recommendation of the latter were received only in January 2026 and challenge was subsequently lodged by one bidder. Fortunately, in view that the matter was not referred to the independent review panel, the contract was awarded by my ministry on 5th of March 2026, and I'm given to understand that the submission of the insurance cover is currently awaited from one of the selected bidders to enable signature of contract and issuance of work orders by the TRMSU. All pending works will therefore be implemented as a matter of urgency. I'm sure many of my colleagues across the island will be happy to learn about this development at long last,
yes,
which will not be on our control. I'm further informed that in the continuous effort to improve road safety along public roads, the construction of traffic calming measures, a raised table at the following locations, which is part of the question in constituency number 6, are in the pipeline. 1, Cap Malheureux along B45 Road near Calimai, Coville, Cap Malheureux. Number 2, Cap Malheureux along B45 Road near Arya Samaj Mandir. Number 3, Rocheterre along B14 Road near TVS Supermarket. Number 4, Grand Gob along B14 Road near Viranda Paul and Virginie Hotel and Spa. Number 5, Perebea along Old Mill Road near Oasis Villa. And number 6, residential morcellement at Beaumontier, Perebea. Madam Speaker, with regards to traffic light, I am informed that the T-junction at Montchoisy Cap Malheureux Road will be soon near Bloom, will be signalized in the course of time, during the course of this year. In view of the concerns raised by the Honourable Member, I have instructed the TRMSU to furthermore carry out surveys in the vicinity of schools, religious places, public health areas, healthcare area health centers, and of course all accident-prone areas within constituency number 6 to identify the need for traffic calming measures for early implementation.
Yes, Mr. Bija.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House what budget allocations have been made for traffic calming measures in constituency number 6, Granby-Poudre-d'Or, in the current and previous financial year, and how much have been utilized till date?
Yes. Madam Speaker, I'm given to understand by the TRMSU that the final figure is being worked out, but rest assured that they will be implemented. Like I said, all we needed was a good contractor, but now following the process of the CPB, we have contractors and they will be implemented in due course.
Yes, okay. Yes, Mr. Bichuk.
Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Minister please request the TRMSU to consider the following suggestion, that usually they apply a blanket rule of not allowing speed breakers, high-rise speed breakers, which is one single strip, that means from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the road, rightly so, unless there are drains on each side. Can they consider the possibility of having those bumps which are divided into two with a passage in between? That means one on the right-hand side, one on the left-hand side, to enable the flow of water so that we don't face the situation that they usually refuse to have speed breakers on roads because there are no drains on each side.
Very highly technical matter indeed. I will ask the technicians to look into, certainly.
Thank you. Yes, Honourable Chief Whip, last question. Before lunch, I mean.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. B179.
Madame la Présidente, la CWA m'informe que les régions de Quatre-Bornes, Palmar, Bassin, Belle-Rose, Sodnac et Cité Kennedy, qui font partie de la zone d'approvisionnement en eau inférieure à Marouvakwa. Ces régions disposent d'un réseau vieillissant d'environ 60 km. Donc ces tuyaux sont sujets à des fuites. Les fuites visibles sont réparées par la CWA dans le cadre de ses opérations courantes. En cas de dysfonctionnement du réseau, laissant suspecter des fuites invisibles, du matériel de détection est déployé sur place pour localiser les fuites, puis les réparations sont effectuées. Madame la Présidente, la CWA a également indiqué que les équipements utilisés pour la détection des fuites sont principalement des détecteurs et enregistreurs de fuites acoustiques. Un budget est prévu chaque année pour l'acquisition de ces équipements. Il convient de souligner, Madame la Présidente, que des fois, des déviations de la circulation sont généralement nécessaires, ce qui influe sur le temps dont dispose la CWA pour effectuer les réparations. Afin d'améliorer l'efficacité du réseau de distribution d'eau dans ces régions, j'ai également appris que d'importants travaux de remplacement de tuyaux entre le rond-point de Saint-Jean et Rosil ont été prévus dans le cadre du programme de remplacement de tuyaux financé par la ligne de crédit indienne. Les appels d'offres devraient être lancés cette année-ci, donc dans 2 mois ou 3 mois, en juillet de cette année-ci. Madame la Présidente, les services de paie d'eau, non-revenue water, non facturés de la CWA comptent actuellement 5 personnes, seulement 5 personnes. Grâce au soutien budgétaire de l'AFD, l'Agence France de développement, dans le secteur de l'eau, la CWA renforcera ce service afin que d'ici 2027, chacune des 6 zones de distribution d'eau dispose d'une équipe de 5 personnes dédiées à la détection des fuites et à la gestion des pertes d'eau non fracturées. Cette mesure devrait permettre d'améliorer significativement le réseau. Par ailleurs, le gouvernement alloue chaque année des fonds à la CWA pour l'acquisition d'équipements de détection des fuites d'eau. Un montant de 12 millions de roupies est prévu pour l'exercice financier en cours.
Thank you. Yes.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente, et je remercie le ministre pour sa réponse. Le ministre peut-il confirmer à la Chambre si des tuyaux d'alimentation en eau y ont été placés à la hâte à la veille des élections générales en 2024 en violation des normes de profondeur, entraînant des fuites à répétition ainsi que des difficultés d'asphaltage des routes sur plusieurs routes à 4 bornes, dont Pousse-Passe Avenue. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Madame la Présidente, à maintes reprises au sein de l'Assemblée nationale, j'ai fait référence aux 700 millions de roupies de Pipe Replacement Programme qui a été entrepris par la CWA. Une enveloppe de 700 millions. Et malheureusement, et les 700 millions de roupies, ces fonds n'ont pas été utilisés exclusivement pour le Pipe Replacement Programme. C'est que 44% des paiements qui ont été dirigés vers ce projet. Et je l'ai dit plusieurs fois, le non-respect dans certains cas des procédures d'appel d'offres, des pratiques comptables déficientes, et dans ces cas-là, pour vous dire qu'aujourd'hui, en 2026, on se retrouve après avoir dépensé 700 millions de roupies dans ce programme, de nombreux foyers restent encore privés d'eau, alors que nous avons dépensé autant d'argent. Faute de raccordement, des tuyaux demeurent visibles. Je ne sais pas dans certaines régions si les Arabes membres sont au courant. De nombreux tuyaux restent visibles, laissés à même le sol dans certaines localités. Et pour vous dire, si je dois demander dans le prochain budget, si je dois demander au ministère des Finances de l'argent pour faire enfouir ces tuyaux, vous réalisez qu'il faudra peut-être un budget de 200 à 300 millions de roupies pour l'enfouissement de ces tuyaux. Alors, il faudra qu'on se décide. Ce gouvernement, nous avons hérité ce que nous avons hérité. Il faudra savoir, est-ce que nous allons mettre de l'argent, 300 millions de roupies, dans l'enfouissement des tuyaux, ou nous allons mettre de l'argent pour améliorer le service de distribution d'eau. Pour vous dire, donc nous sommes dans une situation complexe où je ne blâme pas l'ancien, celui qui m'a précédé, hein, je ne le blâme pas, je ne sais pas s'il est là, hein, mais il n'est pas, je me permettrai de dire qu'il n'était pas blâmé parce que l'ancien general manager de la CWA ne répondait pas à ce ministre, pour vous réaliser. Donc, pour vous dire, 700 millions de roupies, malheureusement, c'est du fiasco.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Peut-on savoir du ministre si le projet pilote de réduction des pertes d'eau non-revenue water financé par l'Agence française de développement, dont il a fait mention dans sa réponse, pourra démarrer dans la circonscription de Belle-Rose 4 bornes numéro 18. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Oui. Ouais, donc j'ai failli être député là-bas.
Allez-y,
Ouais,
monsieur
non,
le ministre.
simplement pour rassurer, vous savez, le but de l'AFD, le projet financé par l'AFD, Madame la Présidente, c'est pour renforcer l'effectif du non-revenue water. Donc nous avons actuellement que 5 personnes dans une zone. Ce que nous voulons avec ce projet, avec le financement de l'AFD, ce que nous avons dans chaque zone, nous avons une équipe de 5 personnes. Donc, pour vous dire, malheureusement, en 2022, l'ancienne équipe avait aboli ce non-revenue water, alors que nous perdons plus de 60% sur notre réseau. Donc, avec l'appui de l'AFD, effectivement, pas que chez vous, l'honorablement, mais dans différentes zones encore, nous aurons une équipe de 5 personnes, comprenant ingénieurs, ouvriers, cadres administratifs, qui sera postée dans chaque zone et aura la responsabilité de s'acquitter de cette tâche pour réduire. Nous essayons de réduire les pertes physiques et commerciales dues à des tuyaux vieillissants.
Tout va bien? Parfait. Je lève la séance pour 1h30. On revient 2h30.